Welcome back, Celestial Council. We are back with another Celestial transmission. Harif and Joey here with the Soul Shifter, as you already know, because she was already here. And everybody loved the last transmission, so we're back again. And for your information, collective, this is gonna be a every like a monthly thing. So every first Tuesday. Is that what we spoke about, right? Every first Tuesday
Yes.
of the month, this is when the reading is going to happen. So now, Miss Soul Shifter, uh, that is ghetto.
It happens.
Right. Anywho, what were your thoughts about the let's start there. What were your thoughts about the last transmission and how did your collective kind of like receive it?
So I actually received a couple private messages, and I think the collective really enjoyed receiving more than one perspective at a time and seeing us collaborate and work together. And they were excited to hear that there'll be more to come. So I'm excited to be back and to be here again.
Okay, I know that's right, girl, because
Mhm.
we have a special download. So I shared it with you what last week, right after we finished the first one, right?
Mhm.
And I'm excited to see what you came up with and what Spirit shared with you versus what Spirit has been showing me. Because to be quite honest, I've been having this download, like I told you, since August of last year.
Mhm.
So was it that Spirit thought that people were ready? Probably not. Like, because, everybody is so, like, single handedly, still working on their shadows, still working on their ego, still don't even understand that everybody has, both archetypal gender energies within them. And so, let alone just jump into androgyny while everybody is still trying to heal, from societal traumas and shit. So,
So I think that it's important for people to understand, right, when they're going through the journey, that it is a journey. I feel like so often we find in the collective that like that instant gratification that people are looking for because it's something that is so instilled and imprinted in us and everything that we see. And so we expect to see fast results. But when we're talking about the work that we're talking about, it's soul work. And I always say that soul work is slow work. And
yeah.
so I think helping people understand that when they're going through the heavy stuff, it's actually like for a purpose and it's for a reason, and they're not alone. And that, we're all going through it. And I think the more that people open up and are more vulnerable about their journey and about moving through their shadow aspects and the ego and what that actually looks like, I think it helps people that are going through it actually gain awareness of like, this is what I'm actually going through. You know what I mean?
Right.
Then being able to give people that higher perspective of like, this is the light at the end of the tunnel and this is like where you're moving to. I think that's what our goal is, right? Is to like open people's perspective and give them that opportunity to think a little bit bigger.
Right. And I also want to jump into the fact that if for you to be able to understand, overstand it, right? It's being able to overstand the fact that ego is masculine energy. Now emotion, spirituality, compassion, that is all feminine energy. And that's what I kind of wanted to get into because hold on one second.
I think I support what you're saying. And I think a little bit deeper, I think that the ego is attached more so to the mind, where, like you said, the feminine is more attached to the emotion. And I think as we
Right.
break down those mental like beliefs and programming that's been imprinted in us, we start to really understand like, oh wow, we are more than this like like 3D meat suit. We are more multidimensional. We do all have spiritual gifts. It's not just like one person or another person, or, everyone has gifts that they can tap into. And so, like, I think helping people realize that, or just know that they're not alone, I think is important. And then that mental piece of like breaking things down.
Right. I also, and when I said, ego is masculine and emotion is feminine. What I mean is that we have a left and a right brain,
Mm,
and you have to merge spirituality with the scientific if you want it to make sense, if you want to see the bigger picture, if you want, this is the reason why they separate it,
mm,
because you won't ever connect the dots. And you have to realize that when we're talking about the left brain, we're talking about the masculine, we're talking about strategy, we're talking about action, we're talking about the physical, the material, the being able to put a plan into structure, or to build something, or to put action into creating something. And when we're talking about the right brain, we're talking about emotional intelligence, we're talking about intuition, we're talking about imagination, we're talking about
creativity.
vulnerability, compassion, all of these things that are affiliated with the feminine energy. And what I want people to understand is that the female and the male energy are beyond gender.
Hmm.
Because when you just look at it as gender, you're just looking at it as through the reproductive organs.
Hmm. And I think that we all are on a journey to like become whole and balanced into that one energy, right? Of like merging both our divine masculine and divine feminine. So, like, for me, identifying as a woman, I feel like I showed up a lot in my unhealed like masculine energy, and then I
Hmm.
had to work into my feminine energy, but then also learning how to be like in my healed masculine energy at the same time. And so it's like a multi-layer process. And I think that depending on what energy you identify with, like on the, I don't want to say like the surface layer, but whatever one you feel more strongly with is usually the side that's wounded, and then you're working like backwards. You know what I mean?
Right, because you have to understand where this comes from. As children, we either watched a single mother struggle and have to go into her toxic masculine energy to be able to provide under the energy of survival, because it's for survival, and I have to do whatever I have to do, and put my compassion and my nourishing aside so I can be able to provide for you as a feminine masculine, because that's what that is. Now you have to go out and work and do this and do that. By the time you get home, you're tired, you don't want to take care of your children, you don't want to cook, you don't want to clean, these are all feminine things, right? So at the end of the day, you have to go back to your childhood and kind of like, you know, navigate yourself through what you saw, because what you saw is what you programmed yourself with. And
Hmm.
because, it can also be the other way. It could be where you grew up with a father and they didn't show you how to clean or cook or do this or do that, and now you're in this masculine energy and you're in this relationship, and now you can provide that, and every relationship is creating this thing where now it's creating a conflict where you think you can't find the right person because you're not merging with the right aspect of yourselves,
Hmm.
or being able to attract the opposite of yourself at the things that you're not good at or aren't good at, so the other person can fulfill those aspects.
Hmm. And I think it's important to really understand too that we attract like what our wounds are, right? So that they can mirror
Yeah,
back to us. So
correct.
it's like if you are carrying certain wounds, a lot of us are so busy in the society that we're in, right? Of being in that 9 to 5, of like doing all the things, of wearing all the hats, that we don't have the time really to like dive in and like sit with our emotions, sit with our like childhood. You know what I mean? People are
Yeah.
too exhausted to do that. And so it's really important that we start prioritizing and realizing that that's like that's the first piece. That's the secret sauce. That's what's going to help make everything else fall into place and move, you know what I mean?
Right, but now let's go a little bit deeper. Why is everybody working and doing this and never have the time to go within? It's because you're
Mhm.
constantly in your masculine energy. It's
Yes.
because you're constantly wanting to go work, wanting to go make the money because of respect, because of societal norms, because this is what's going to make you survive. That's all masculine energy. So
Mhm.
now when you're doing all of that, you don't have the time for the meditation, for the stillness, for the going within, being vulnerable, being reflective. You don't have time for that. And that is your divine feminine energy. So how do you expect anybody that you're in a relationship with to have it as well when both people are trying to survive?
Mhm. And I think too what people need to realize and like really understand is that y- you are going to attract people that bring those wounds to the surface. So it's like if you're looking for your like quote unquote true love, but you have, you know, like worthiness wounds and all these things, then you're going to attract more narcissistic people or more karmic relationships because you're not able to bring in like that level of connection until you find worthiness within yourself, like that you're looking for it outside of yourself. And so you're actually almost repelling the things that you want because you're not in like that reciprocal energy to receive it either. You know what I mean? So it makes
Right.
things like tricky with energy. You know what I mean? I think that a lot of people don't understand the depth of it and how much it you actually have to do the work to get to that level. You know what I mean? I think that we see like that movement of like the soft girl, and we see everybody doing that, like, oh, I'm getting my lashes done, I'm in my soft girl, and it's like, oh, I'm getting my hair done, I'm in my soft girl. But it's like a lot deeper than that, right? It's more of like a,
Well, that's toxic masculine energy
well,
because now you're turning it into something material
yes.
instead of it being spiritual and being energetical and being about emotional intelligence and being about healing and being about. And this is the other thing too. You just mentioned something. You said damn it, you said something and it was such a good point. But to your point and to what you're saying, it's people have to just realize that that is the problem. Everybody is trying to compartmentalize energy, and energy is fluid. And what you have to learn how to do is heal and learn, you know, and being able to understand that when you do learn how to master your feminine energy and your masculine energy, you won't only just attract it in somebody else and have somebody who's complete and who's healed and emotionally intelligent and all of these things. Yes, granted, because it's going to seem that way because they're good at the things that you're bad at. Whether it's mentally, emotionally, physically, spiritually, don't matter. That's another half. That's what people mean, because it's divine masculine energy and divine feminine energy coming together where they lack and where they progress to be able to create the Godhead. So when people understand that when you master your divine feminine energy, your divine masculine energy within yourself, you create the God frequency within yourself, which actually attracts either a goddess or another god, depending on what frequency you're on.
And I think too that when you do the healing work and you attract in that type of level of commitment,
Yeah.
you are feeling whole and complete. It's almost like, yes, you love that partner, but you know that like you don't need anyone outside of you to complete you because you are balanced of that masculine and feminine energy within you. So I think
Because
that that's like,
your feminine is nourishing your masculine, and your masculine is
yes.
nourishing your feminine.
Yes. And I feel like for someone, you know, like for me, I feel like when I can surrender into my feminine energy and actually be in my feminine energy, it's like I attract everything that's meant for me too so easily and like effortlessly because I'm just like in my essence, like sitting back. And I think that that's something that is um it's hard to do because I feel like you said, where there's all these things that I feel like we've been taught that put us out of alignment. And that like hustle culture that like you mentioned in the beginning, that you have to like work really hard. Also like the idea of like performing and doing, and like in order to earn, like in earning, that you have to earn in order to receive. And it's like we actually are already whole, complete, and worthy of receiving all the things. But because we think in our ego, and or from an ego place, there's all these lack and limitations that we put on ourselves, which then makes our manifestations or connections
It's
that we're
very
looking
linear.
for,
It's
you know.
very linear, so it
Yeah.
makes our manifestations very linear.
Mm-hmm.
And it makes us think that, well, we have to bend over backwards and we have to struggle, and it's a slave mentality, it's a poverty mindset.
Mm-hmm.
Because you're not nourishing yourself, you're not loving yourself, you don't see the worth, you don't see the extension that you are of source, so you're not allowing yourself to give freely without expecting anything in return, but also being in the same frequency where you know that you will receive because of what you're putting out.
Mm-hmm.
It's like give and take. It's a law of attraction. A lot of people believe in the law of attraction, but not in the way where they understand that the law of attraction is only going to bring to you what you're on the vibration of. So even if you ask the universe, like, okay, I want a cheeseburger and I want it like this and I want it like that and I want it like this. Okay, you're gonna get that cheeseburger, but it's probably gonna be from the crappiest motherfucking burger joint
Mm-hmm.
because you're at that vibration. It's not good quality lettuce. It's not good quality cheese.
Mm-hmm.
You understand what I'm saying?
Can
Because
I
you're
tell?
not
Can I like
specific
share a
within the
story just
frequency that
because?
you're in.
Yes. Can I share a story because this
Yes.
literally just happened so I literally the other day was going to the market, and I'm thinking, okay, like I'm gonna meal plan, like I've been on my trying to get on my routine, like I'm gonna get like, everything all together. And so I'm like, I really want steak. And so I'm looking at the steak, and I don't even eat meat all the time, but when I want it, I have it. And so I'm
Yeah.
looking and nothing looks good. So I go home, and my friend stops over, and he's like, "Oh, I just went to the meat market and I got these steaks for you and I brought them over." And I'm like, I
Oh shit.
literally just asked for these and, never thought that I would receive them in that way. You know what I mean? But just being open to receiving and like asking for the things that you want. And you never know like how they'll appear. You know what I mean? And like that's the
Right.
the magic of like doing the work, right? Like is like you just become, like I said, that vibrational. And I love that you said that law of attraction, because I always talk about how, people always focus on the law of attraction, but how it's a secondary rule, right? It's like the rule of frequency. And just like you mentioned, it's like you have to be a vibrational match for the things that you actually want.
Yeah.
You can't just ask for them and wish on them like upon a star. And the only reason why you're not receiving the things that you're asking for is because you're blocking yourself from those things. And so I feel like realizing that, and always like bringing the mirror back to myself, going like, okay, how am I holding myself back? How am I limiting myself? How am I, you know what I mean? And then
Yeah.
seeing where it is that we need to like do the work. You know what I mean?
And you know what's so funny is that a lot of us are so ashamed of asking for what we want because as kids, when we asked for what we want, we never got it.
Mm-hmm.
We never got it. It was never validated. It was ridiculed. It was like that's not possible. That's a long stretch. We don't have that type of money right now. So it's all these limitations that were put in your path to like all of these blockages that now you feel like, oh, that's never gonna happen for me,
Mm-hmm.
or whatever. But like for example, you could have literally like forced to buy that steak,
Mm-hmm.
and then it would have just came out rotted or it would have smelled bad or whatever, but you just trusted the fact that, okay, I do want steak, but I'm not going to force myself to get something that I know that
Yeah.
it doesn't look appealing to me, right? So okay, I'm going to put it down and I'm just going to go about my fucking day, and then here's the fucking steak, somebody brought it to me.
Mm-hmm.
And it's so funny because I have a similar story, right? And the story is that I'm telling my friend, I'm like, yo, it's so crazy every single time that that I urgently want to smoke, I run out of papers, right? So then I'm like, okay, fine, granted, I need papers, blah, blah, whatever. I forget about it. I go take a nap. I wake up and I call my best friend, and my best friend is like, oh, I'm down the street. I'm about to go leave papers in your mailbox.
Mm.
You understand what I'm saying?
Yep.
It's like you just have to be on the frequency of whatever it is. I didn't worry about it. I didn't hit up anybody and was like, "Oh, let me get some
Hmm.
papers." I was just like, you know what? Let me just be on the frequency of like, I need some fucking papers and be what it may and let God. And I went to sleep. And it's little things. And people will be like, "Papers, really?" It's just the little things
Hmm.
because those are the confirmations, right? You when you start to literally just receive freely without any expectations and how it's coming in, it just happens. And you're just like, oh, okay.
And I think too, like coming from a place like we talked about, right, with all that childhood trauma of like life always being hard, right?
Yeah,
It's like, oh wow, like life's getting easy, you know what I mean? But to be able to get to the level of surrender and faith and trust, it's not easy, right? It's like hard work to be able to transmute all that shadow energy, like we were talking about at the beginning, transmuting that ego, looking at your emotions, see where you're holding yourself back, see how like you're putting yourself in the same cycles and patterns when it comes to
yeah,
relationships, and then saying, okay, how am I, right, allowing this, or what am I doing that's keeping this cycle from happening. And I think that that's the hardest part, right, because oftentimes it's like you see the mistreatment and you can fall into that um, feeling like a victim of the situation. I hate like using that victim mentality, but like it's a real frequency, right?
yeah.
And so I think that, helping people and, just building community so that people understand that they're not alone on this journey and that we all are like stripping the ego in different ways and having to transmute and, heal. We're all doing it. And, um, it's something that we're all working through together. You know what I mean?
As we shall, because that's what we're doing right now. That's why we're going
Mm-hmm.
live and talking about going live. That's why we're
Mm-hmm.
about to get into this reading. We're 20 minutes in. The clock is about to go out. So we're definitely going to tap into spirit because I know that's what you guys have been waiting for. Good evening, Ja. Good evening, Napi. Good evening, everyone. Good evening, Daniela. Good evening, Lavish. How's everybody doing? Celestial evening to everyone. I hope everyone is doing fabulous. We have the Soul Shifter tonight. So we're gonna get into we just moved on from the downloads. So now we're about to go into the actual reading after this prayer. Okay, collective. So let's go into prayer. So thank you, Father, Mother God, for waking us up today. Allow us to be an extension of you. Understanding, overstanding, and understanding that we're constantly connected to God, source, spiritual guides, archangels, ascended masters, ancestors, anything that is high vibrational, especially in this instance, the archetypal energies of divine masculine and divine feminine, so we can be able to expand within ourselves and outside of ourselves. Thank you for your love, your wisdom, and support every day. We're nothing without it, and definitely nothing without you. That is the sun, and the sun is we. It is the one, and it is the one that gives us polarity in life. He gave us evolution, polarity, and night. Two lights that derive from the same source and makes us in his image from the ultimate force. It travels through space and archetypes of mind where here and below you can also find. As above, it is below. When we transcend, we return and we grow. Remind yourself of who you are as you come from the light of God, as you come from the shining star. So it be. Okay. So I'm gonna give you the honors of going first.
Okay.
So you go ahead with
Okay.
divine masculine.
So I am going to pull for the divine masculine.
Because they be sensitive when I read them.
Ooh, they're quiet tonight.
Listen. That full moon in Scorpio's popping up, so you know the
Ooh.
truth's coming out.
Okay. Okay, I love this for the masculine. Okay, so there's three cards that popped out. So the first card that popped out is perspective. And it shows it's like this very dark card, right? With like this little fleck of light. And it says, none of this matters. Zoom out and find the common ground. And then it also says lifting the veil, questioning everything, anything unaligned must go. And then trust the timing, trust the wave that you came in on. Time is not running out. And I love how, like, at the beginning, you touched upon like all the different ways that society, right, deems like success and what success looks like. And I feel like we're moving into a new wave of success, right? And a new wave of success is going to look more like a calm nervous system, a life of
Mm.
peace, a life of joy, a life of, so
The soft era we were talking about, but it's not
yes.
that my hair and lashes is done. It's more of like, oh, I thought she was going to be bothered. Okay,
Mhm.
you know.
Exactly, because I built that inner peace, right? I built that and this zoom out, I feel like the masculine is so focused on like what's right in front of them that they're having a hard time seeing things from a higher perspective.
The zoom
So it's
out.
like zoom out, try to see things like, I always tell my clients, right? Like, what is life showing me? What is it teaching me? What am I feeling? What, when did I first start feeling
What
this
does
way?
repetitively keep showing up?
Yes, that too. um and allowing things, right, that are unaligned to go, because I feel like a lot of times things want to leave and we want to hold tight, and it's those are
Mm.
the things that are actually holding us back. So
Ego.
letting things go that are trying to leave, and questioning things like studying your energy, right? Like, how do people make you feel? Are people filling your cup? Are they draining your cup? Are you feeling empowered? Are you feeling depleted? And it's like realizing that, you know, yes, we are human, but we are energy, and really starting to read the energy, understand the energy, and then pulling back when need be. And I feel like it's almost like the masculine feels like they're running out of time, but I feel like there is no time, right? There, that time is an illusion. And so like trusting in the divine timing, trusting in the intervention, trusting in like a miracle can happen at any time, at any moment, in any second.
You want to
um
know why they lack it? The lack of femininity, the lack of
yes.
spirituality, the lack of spiritual concept of knowing that time is an illusion, knowing that you're everlasting, knowing that this is temporary, knowing
Mhm.
that's all divine feminine energy.
And that's why we talk about, right, like healing and being able to merge both sides of self are so important, because when you don't have two healed parts, you're walking around broken, right? And then you're attracting broken to you, and it's the one thing that you're probably begging not to have any more
Well,
of, right?
because it's only gonna breed you having to bend over backwards to receive something,
Hmm.
because they're broken. So you have
Hmm.
to give them something for them to give you something.
Hmm.
So it's not unconditional, it's very conditional.
And it's like, too, I feel like for the masculines, I feel like they're working through, I see a shift in masculines from being so hyper focused on like what a woman looks like, just physically, to like, okay, well, what else does she offer? Because I can get that anywhere, I can get that from, and so I think that that's beautiful, right? Because it's like the the feminine is going to bring in, or should be bringing in, spiritual protection, bringing in peace, bringing in a higher level of consciousness to help you, like tap into your feminine energy, or to help you understand the downloads that maybe you're receiving that you need guidance on. And so it's like, if you're attracting in someone based on their looks, it's like you're probably attracting in that gold, like that gold digger type of energy,
Right.
because that's what you're focused on the ego,
The
on the
material.
material. So
Because
she's
look,
also
appearance
focused
is
on the
material.
material.
Appearance is material. So you're
Yes,
only gonna attract somebody who's interested in the what? The material.
exactly.
It's not looks, but it's money. You know
Hmm.
what I'm saying? It's all
Hmm.
material. So Miss what did she say? Oh, hold on. Because I think this is from YouTube. Love of Truth Tarot says, "Hi guys, loving this alive, darling, all the way from YouTube." I know that's right.
Oh.
Okay, I'm glad you're enjoying the live, guys. But yeah, that whole thing is this is why you're attracting. you're attracting things and you're not even realizing that you're attracting them, and it's because of the aspects of yourself that are missing.
And for the masculines that might be on the live watching, I just want to like really stress that I feel like there's been a deep, deep programming, right? That um vulnerability is a weakness, right? Like crying is a weakness, sharing your feelings is a weakness. And that's the biggest lie that you've been told. It's like you being in tune with your emotions, you being in tune with your partner's emotions, and being able to, like, a feminine is going to feel, right? She feels everything. So for you to be able to be that stable tree and not be reactive, or and realize, okay, like she's just like processing, like, I let me give her a hug, like, let me you know what I mean, like,
Right.
it's like, so I think that there's like this shift that's happening. But for the masculines, like, knowing that vulnerability is actually really sexy, and a feminine is going to find that sexy and wanting you to like be open and real and honest, because a divine feminine is going to be the same with you, and so she's going to expect that mirrored energy back, wanting like back to her.
Right. So
Work.
this is the other thing too. I want to go a little bit deeper on something that you said, because it's they need to understand, right? 1,000 years ago, a man wearing earrings, shaving, wearing perfume or cologne, wearing lotion, taking a shower every day wasn't looked at as manly.
Mm.
Okay? So a lot of you don't even understand that you're already practicing femininity.
Mhm.
Shaving, pedicures, manicures, haircuts, lineups, facials, skin treatments, hair transplant. These are all feminine things. So you have to understand, even if you want to break it down a little bit more, you wearing cologne alone is feminine, because where do these scents come from? It comes from Mother Nature. Flowers, herbs, barks, and trees. These are all feminine things. So you're putting a feminine substance on your body for you to smell good. That is a feminine thing. But it attracts a what? A feminine. So you have to start putting these concepts into play in your life. Okay, like she said, vulnerability is sexy. Why? Because you get to bring yourself to an emotional realm where this woman believes that you cannot comprehend her. And when you get to this frequency where you emotionally can comprehend her, support her, and even validate these things, what do you think she's going to open up like? Okay, but we're going to go into divine feminine energy.
On that note,
On that note, right? Oh, divine feminine, what is your frequency tonight? What are we doing? Okay. She's not coming out the gate, okay? Synthesis and laughter and rhythms. Mm. Okay, divine feminine, I see you. And it's funny because the mother, the maiden, and the crone is here, which is divine feminine energy all the way. But then it's definitely talking about rhythm, right? Because you have to know divine feminine how to interchange these energies. You can't just always be in I'm in always providing mode, in survival mode, or I'm just always in vulnerability, or my soft mode. There's a time and place to speak the truth. There's a time and place to be vulnerable. There's a time and place for everything. Just how there's a season for everything, for it to rain, for the seeds to fall, for them to grow, whether they grow or not. But there's a season for everything, and the divine feminine has forgotten that she is multi-dimensional. And it comes from not only beaten down to the point that your divine femininity wasn't enough. Now that you master divine masculinity and made it toxic, it's still not enough. And the reason why I say made it toxic is because you done pushed it so far that now a lot of you get repulsed Okay? When a man comes to you already wanting to give you those things, vulnerability, being soft, now you think these men are gay. Now you think these men are overly sensitive. Now you think these men are complaining too much. What does that sound like? Doesn't that sound like a toxic masculine? Oh, you're just always complaining. You're talking too much. What the fuck? Why we always gotta talk about this? And then they complaining to you about the bills, and then doesn't it sound like a gender role reversed? And it needs to happen because for thousands of years, men have suppressed you. So now they have to know what it feels like to be suppressed by the woman. This is why for now the laughter and the synthesis and the rhythm, your rhythm is, I only look for the man when I need him for what I want him for. Is sex? All right, great. Give me that schlong and then you're gone. Okay? That's what it has become. The OnlyFans, the this, the that, the flashing the Birkin bags, the shoes, the I got my nails done this week and me look at me and I'm going to the gym and it's all masculine. Because you're doing it for the validation of what you appear to be, not what your soul is actually emitting, divine feminine. And not for nothing, I don't want to put you on the spot, but then we have women like Nikki, the soul shifter, where they're not looking for attention on social media. She's on this live and she's not even on here where lashes, makeup, like this is just divine femininity at its best. It's like something you said before we came on this live. I can be more sexier than any woman that's showing anything that she got being just like this. Why? Because she is secure within her divine femininity and what she can nourish and what she cannot. So, as the divine feminine, you have to find your rhythms because you got stuck in one rhythm, and that one rhythm was I need to make money, I need to be better than a man, I can never be under the thumb ever again, I will never be under control, they will never abuse me, they will never lie to me. That's masculine energy because it's all ego. So, find the fucking rhythm. And it's funny because a lot of you will laugh this shit off, but then you're the same ones complaining that you keep attracting ain't shit niggas. But here we are. Right? So the synthesis is that whatever it is that you're picking up and you're seeing the puddle of in that fucking puddle in those hands that you have is only a reflection of you, divine feminine. Whatever these men aren't doing is what you're not doing for yourself. This is why they feel like they don't need to do it. Because you feel like you don't need to do it either. So who the fuck is really winning the race? Nobody. There is no fucking race because it's about unity. When you bring your frequencies together, you create the God frequency, which anything can be created. We talked about this last week. You bring her the food, she'll make the fucking meal. You give him the support, he'll make the damn money. You give him the sacred space to be vulnerable and emotional, he'll give you some of the best conversations that you'll ever fucking have. But we have two gender roles that just want to be egotistical because this is like a war. It is a gender war. And people think that they're winning, and there is no winning if there is no unification. There's no winning because it's always going to be one trying to top the other. Sounds like a gay relationship to me. Who's the top and who's the fucking bottom at this point? And y'all supposed to be straight. But it's not about genders, right? And
I just
sexual roles.
I just want to touch on because what you said about oh man, it was just on the tip of my tongue and now I lost it. You were talking about Oh my gosh, it'll come back to me. Hold on. You can continue. I'm sorry.
Yeah, yeah, no, it'll come back.
I was waiting, so like I didn't want to cut you off, and then
I
I'm
know you
like,
should have. Fuck.
oh, I know what it was. So when you were talking, I think a lot of it too, or also has to do with the feminine in this like settling energy, right? Because you talked about, right, that suppression. Like the feminine energy has been so suppressed for such a long time. That's why we see it show up physically, right? And with dis-ease and so many feminine guts, right? So many feminines have gut issues. And it's because of the suppression. It's because we are not in our power. And for every feminine that's on here, like you are a baddie. Like you are a portal. You are able to birth creations into this world. And you need to stop settling and taking in less than what you truly want and truly deserve, because that's how you like send the universe hears you and responds. So whatever you accept, the universe is like, okay, that's what you want, and they're going to give you more of that. If you draw the line in the sand and said, no, I'm not accepting this because I know that I'm worth more, I know my value, and I'm not settling for anything less than what I want and what I deserve, then the universe will bring you what you're asking for. But you have to like put
You
that
have
line
to command it.
and say to yourself, like, I am worthy of this and I deserve it. And I know in my feminine energy, I can attract whatever I want.
And now let me just confirm what you just said with the cards that fell out. Forgiveness. Stop focusing your energy on past events, for life is too precious to waste. You create your reality by what you think, dream, and imagine and think about yourself. Criticizing one another in gender roles will only lead to further unhappiness. Love and accept each other as you are, and your relationship will magically transform. Whether it's for yourself, between your divine and masculine and feminine self, or with another divine masculine or feminine. Only time will tell, because time is an illusion. We talked about this. Look inside yourself, examine what is causing you to even feel this way to begin with. Soulmate. Your soulmate is already with you in spirit because you are your soulmate. The other aspect of yourself, feminine or masculine, is your soulmate. The reason why a lot of you aren't with your soulmate is because it's missing within you. Beware of what you are projecting, for the qualities you admire in one another are qualities you both possess. Equally so, the qualities you don't like are also your own reflection.
Ooh, can I touch on this?
Yeah.
So in probably 2020, 2021, I really started to use the app, The Pattern. It's like one of my favorite apps. If you do not use The Pattern, it is amazing. It takes your birth chart information and it
Hmm.
shows you your patterns. And then it kind of shows you like a swing. So you can kind of see like where you are on the swing. And so when I first started using this, it was talking about how I attract a lot of like alpha males because I lacked confidence and I was trying to mirror confidence within them back to myself. And so when I had that awareness, I'm like, oh, like that's why I attract the kind of men that I do. Like, geez. And
Because
so
you
I
were
just
forcing yourself to become the leader.
and I pulled myself back and I
So
literally
you have to see the negative aspect first so you can create the positive one.
yes. And I knew obviously that I like struggled with like being insecure or like things like that growing up and into my like adulthood, but I didn't realize the depth, right? That it held me back, or like the layer of the wound, you know what I mean? And how deep it was.
Because it's going back to what you were just saying about commanding, like
Yes.
what you want and what you need. Well, how are you supposed to do that if you've been suppressed and you've been attracting nothing but narcissistic men that have been suppressing you,
Yep.
so you don't emerge into your power?
And right, the whole idea that what we say and what we think actually manifests into our reality, into the physical. And so a lot of times we hear people, right, and we hear them say like, oh, men ain't shit, or there are no good guys out there, and
You're
then they wonder
attracting that.
why. they're not attracting good men into their life. And it's like, but that's what you're saying, that's what
That's
you're
what you're saying.
attracting.
So that's all that's going to present itself, right?
So that's important to realize and recognize. And sometimes we're not even aware that we do these things, right? And so like trying to slow down, like we talked about, is just so important, and being more intentional with our words and our thoughts and what we're actually saying. Because even within our language, there's so many little things that, like, words are spells. We're casting spells. So you have to be careful how you're using your words and what you're putting out there.
That's why it's called spelling. Like people just
Thank
don't
you.
get it. They need to really study etymology and the origins of words, and then they'll get it. But remember, guys, that if you ever need a private reading for Soul Shifter or I, you can just hit us up for our links, and we're also gonna put our links in that in the description on top of our videos, and you can go follow those handles as well. We're about to go into the tarot and see what the storylines are pertaining to this energy, because all we were doing was just trying to see what the energies were with this androgynous download. But now we're gonna go into the tarot and see what the storylines are and how you guys are resonating with this energy. Ooh, the Wheel of Fortune. Okay, Aquarius, Leo, Taurus, and Scorpio. I see you. Shout out to the fixed signs here. And then the Knight of Wands. Okay, so I see that a lot of you are fighting through this energy of trying to either balance out your divine feminine energy with your divine masculine, which is your ego and your emotions, or vice versa, because you're a masculine or feminine. Doesn't matter, right? Because it's all gender. But I mean, not gender, it's all fluid. But whichever spectrum you're on, you have to understand that they are both equal. One is not more than the other. One needs the other to be just as important. And when you put them together, it creates the new version of you. Because now you're seeing whatever higher perspective this is, right? For a lot of you, you might be seeing you might, oh, then you have Scorpio energy, the tower moment, which is talking about the full moon we're about to have in Scorpio, right? So whatever it is that you're going through within within a connection, or you and someone, where it's like a power struggle. It's like a gender power struggle. Like, no, it's because your ego, it's because you don't understand, it's your emotions. This is why we need to have this final conversation. Whatever this power struggle is, this gender war, is it's gonna create this destruction, right? Where it's either gonna do one or two things. It's either going to do this, and then both people are going to separate and go into their own individual awakening of the gender role that they were lacking in, and that's why they kept doing the conflict. Or you're gonna keep doing this, right? And then you're gonna do this again, and then attract and go back to the same square but with a different person, and then do this again until you get that is a lack of a gender archetype inside of you that's not allowing you to get past this point of a connection, a relationship, or whatever this is. Because we have Aquarius, Taurus, Leo, Scorpio, Sag, and Pisces, Cancer. So whoever is in this connection, going through this energy, the reason why you can't get past it is because both people are lacking in a gender archetype, and their ego is not allowing them to heal it.
And so to piggyback on what your message is, my message is similar, but um, mental conflict came out and emotional loss.
Mm.
And when I was sitting with the energy, it's like old thought patterns and past emotions um, are weighing like the collective down. And then the mental conflict is like the old stories replaying, like, and attracting more of what it is that you're actually trying to get away from. And so
Or
one,
the this.
yes, it's so like releasing the emotional baggage, first of all. So, like, you cannot take your problems from, and your pain and your trauma from past relationships and bring it into a new relationship and expect a different result. And so I feel like there's this awareness that's starting to come up of like, oh damn, I'm feeling this way, I'm feeling guilt, I'm feeling shame, I'm feeling unworthy, I'm feeling betrayal, I'm feeling, whatever it is. And then you're looking at that mental conflict that you've been having, and it's like getting out of your head and more into your heart space, so that way it's like you can feel the truth. You know what the truth is, and moving in truth, like using your throat chakra and really like speaking your authentic truth will help you attract the authentic relationship too that you're looking for by you being your true authentic self. It's like if you're hiding or you're dimming parts of yourself because you're afraid of what people are going to think, or you're nervous to like let people down. I feel like it might be people that like need to break up too, and it's like I don't want to let that person down, or I don't want to hurt. But it's like, what you need to do, like, and you.
Right. And then for some people it's the opposite. They want the hurting. They want to do because it's ego. So they what they're doing is that they're enforcing that I'm gonna mistreat you, I'm gonna talk to you this way, I'm gonna do this, because they're running away from the healing that needs to happen, which is healing that gender archetype that's gonna allow you to accept the higher perspective, that's not gonna tell you to treat that person that way. It's gonna tell you what you just said. I'm guilty. I don't want to hurt you. Let me just step away. Let me heal this. Let me. But there, some people are doing the opposite. Now, what the other thing that I wanted to say is that you just said it. The mental conflict. It said it in the beginning of your spread. It's the perspective.
Hmm.
Until you don't zoom out and stop trying to run, you're only gonna come back to square one. Whether it's with the same person or another person,
Hmm.
whether it's romantic, platonic, or a family ship, it doesn't matter.
Because you can always like feel right something out of like when things are doing this. I feel like when you're in that unhealed space, right, it's like you're feeling like the victim, like there's justification of being in that space, like whether that person cheated or they did something that, you know what I mean. And so you have to ask yourself, like, why is this happening? Well, it's
Yep.
because, you know what I mean, I maybe I don't value myself. Maybe I'm not loving myself. Maybe I don't have healthy boundaries. So it's like bringing
Hello.
accountability to the,
The Ace of Swords, the truth.
which
That's the
is like,
truth. The truth
yes.
is that I don't love myself. Maybe my boundaries aren't strong enough.
Mhm.
Maybe I'm just mentally lying to myself, and if I keep doing this, it's gonna be the same result over and over and over and over again. The Nine of Wands, which is what? The burden. You realizing that the burden is you, not realizing that it's you, and not telling yourself the truth, which the truth will be not going against your intuition, which is divine feminine energy.
And I just want to say, like, we have all been there, right? And so, like, giving yourself grace, like compassion, like forgiveness, because when you do look at yourself in the mirror sometimes and realize, like, damn, like, I am the block, like, I have been the one, you know what I mean? Y- it's our natural instinct, right, is to like get defensive or, shameful or whatever, but it's like there doesn't need to be any of that. All that you needed to have was the awareness so that you can take like that wisdom out and then apply it moving forward. So now when you say to yourself, okay, I value myself and this is like my non-negotiables, like if anybody does any of these things, like I'm out, because I don't talk to myself like that. So I'm not going to let somebody else talk to me like that. Or,
Period.
whatever it is. And I think that that's how we set the bar too and attract the things that we really want. But I think that really giving yourself like compassion and grace, right, as you're doing healing is so important. Like, I really needed to learn how to mother myself throughout my healing journey and be able to give myself like the things that I needed during that time and be like, it's okay. Like, And I think like when I was doing this work, what was helpful for me was like picturing like my 5-year-old self, because like I never want to like be angry with her, I don't want to shame her, I don't want to yell at, you know what I mean? And so
Yeah.
like when you're doing the work, it's like imagine your little boy self or your little girl self, and talking to them and like guiding them as you're like moving through things too, right? So it's like as we move on to this next relationship, we've learned A, B, and C, so we're not going to do that again. Like I'm protecting you, and you've got this. Like we've got this. And I think that that might help some of the collective too. Is like because I feel like a lot of them are like very hard on themselves and like a self critic. And so I think that like giving themselves their that compassion of like we're supposed to make mistakes. Like it's okay to make mistakes. Just don't keep making them. Like once you have the awareness, and start moving differently, start making better choices.
Right. Another thing that you said was the mothering yourself. You also need to learn how to father yourself because you don't want to have somebody come and have authority over you when you don't even have authority over yourself.
Yeah.
So this is the importance of having an androgynous relationship with yourself, where you're allowing your divine feminine and divine masculine to live within you because they both need to know how to parent you
And
within
we
these
talked about
connections and
this.
relationships.
You mentioned that in the first live when we talked about some example with myself, but you said how I had to build like safety and
Yeah.
protection, which is that masculine energy. And so it's like when we're healing both aspects of ourselves so that we get to the healed version of like what that looks like, what that feels like. And so it's like we're balancing back and forth because both sides of us are wounded in different ways, and we have to look at and then try to balance the scales as we're also up leveling, so we're doing
Well, Spirit just said that, which I don't realize is that up to this point of you choosing to heal, you're nothing but the broken version of either your mother or your father or both.
and
Clock it.
that's why I think I started like being a mother. I read something like very early in my healing journey that said like whatever we don't heal gets passed on to our children. And I knew the kind of trauma that like I experienced growing up, and I'm like, oh no, like I don't want my children to have to experience that. And so I like really dove in like consciously and intentionally doing the shadow work because I was like so conscious of that and knowing like that it gets passed down. But you're right, it is like that imprinting, that ancestral and generational trauma too, that we're healing from too. When we look back at like the cycles in our family and look at patterns and stuff, we're like, oh, we can see how that's been repetitive, you know what I mean? And a lot of
Yeah.
us are meant to stop those cycles, and so we have to be able to like go within and slow down. And it's really hard within the world that like we live in because it's built for us to be very masculine, to be very robotic, to be very logical. But there's a whole other side of us that is very important and very magical that we often forget. And so it's important that we're all tapping back into that side of us so that we do feel like we're always protected and provided for and safe and like all the things, because we do have that higher connection to source.
And I just want to say something. We didn't forget the church beat it out of us.
That's true.
let's clock it.
Yeah.
The church beat it out of you because they made women less than. Because they were the emotion, they were the magic, they were the spirituality, they were the herbs, they were the mediumship, they were the meditation, they were everything.
That's a whole live on its own.
That's a whole life on its own. Then we'll be back
Yes.
with that. But right now, the next spread that I have is for some of you. There's somebody here who's carrying the burden of knowing the truth and not speaking on it because they know that it's gonna make situations worse. But what you don't realize is that whether you speak on it or not, somebody else will, and they're gonna be able to paint their own picture of it. So granted, let them paint whatever picture it is that they want to paint because they're only going to set up the canvas of where you're going to be able to fill in the blanks.
And
And when you're
energy
able
speaks
to
for
fill in the
itself.
blanks, your story is going to complete theirs. And what does that say about theirs? It wasn't the complete truth. Because when things have holes in them and it don't make sense, it's clearly not the truth. So whatever this is, the truth will come out and it will create some type of harmonious change. Things will go back to normal. People will know the truth. People will know who was at fault, who wasn't, who was the exposed, who, you understand what I'm saying? But this is only going to happen because it's forcing you to explore a different way of how you communicate, who you allow, what you approach, and who you allow into your reality, and who knows what and who doesn't know what. Okay?
And then I just pulled to basically wrap up the things that we were talking about this whole time with, I think, the collective really working on that feminine energy, because the Gaia card came out and it says the frequency of Gaia reminds us that we are infinitely connected to one another, just as we are to our great mother and to the universe that birthed all of us. And I think when you mentioned, religion, one of the things that I feel like, or why religion was created was really for the separation and division, right? And so as we journey back
Wait
home.
before you, because the journey back home is the garden of is going back to the Garden of Eden, because remember that Adam and Eve were split into half.
Hmm.
But before that they were one entity.
Hmm.
But they were too powerful. But proceed. Sorry about that.
No, you're fine. um, but I think that it's like this journey of remembrance that the collective is on right now, and it's like remembering,
Our
like,
divine
layer by
feminine.
layer, and the way that we do this, right, is connecting back to our feminine energy. And then the other card that came out was belief, and it's like really questioning the beliefs um that we were taught and the things that were instilled in us, and really asking ourselves, like, does this does this feel right to me? Like, did I really, like, did I really grow up to be an adult to work every day of my life to not have any time to spend, it's like that's not what we came here for. And that's why so many people are exhausted. And so it's like as we start to break down these beliefs, we're going to start to pull together and build community and actually work on solutions. And that's
Right.
what this age of Aquarius, like, time,
It's
right,
about.
is all about. Is building community, is realizing that we all are one, that we all are interconnected, and that we need connection, and each other, in order to, like, have a true, like, peaceful, joyous, heaven on earth type of frequency, right?
Yeah. So you said believe, right?
Hmm.
And it's funny because I heard Spirit say, well, the word lie is in believe. And if you don't know, then it's not truth. Everybody has to get that word believe out of their fucking vocabulary. Hope out of their vocabulary. They're all illusions. Because if there's anything that is certain, is that God is eternal. And if God is eternal, then that means that it is all knowing, it's beginning and the end. And if you're an extension of it, what does that say about you? Forget the fucking church, forget the belief, and just know. Be in the knowing. Because that's where the answers are.
And ask to be shown the truth, right? Because it's like we've been told so many lies that
Yes.
I think as you go through your spiritual awakening, like, the amount of rage, like, I just feel to just, like, tear this whole world up and just, like, reset it, because there's just so many lies everywhere. It's like everything is a lie. Like almost everything we were taught, it's the opposite of what we've been taught. It's like the opposite game. And so
Right.
it's really, like, hard to digest.
And I'm not gonna
that
tell,
truth
and
too.
it
You
is
know what
hard
I
to
mean?
digest and to intake. But one thing, what a piece of advice I'm gonna tell everybody is, when you go on this journey and you go heal, and don't take it out on the world and externally, because the fastest way to change the world is to heal yourself.
Amen.
Okay. Yes, the knowing is what it's all about. Yes, the knowing, because the knowing is inside of you. God said, flip a stone, look inside of you, hear me, I'm there. It's all there. So don't look for anything outside of you. It's all inside of you. But this is why going back to religion, they broke down the divine feminine, because that's what broke down and blocked from going inside of you. Because it's the unknown, it's the
So
intuition, it's the magic
the what the card says on belief, it says the frequency of belief supports our sense of self-worth based on our gifts and talents and a strong connection to source.
of knowing. Because belief is only an extension of knowing.
Hmm.
But belief is nothing without the knowing.
Well, and I think that the belief is what has been manipulated, right? Which has been
Correct.
imprinted in us as truth. And I think as we start to spiritually awaken and go through our healing journey, we start to realize, like, wow, there are a lot of lies and there are a lot of illusions and there is a lot of like fear, right? Fake energy appearing real. That's like there, it blocking
The
us.
devil will appear as a what? An angel of light. Which is ego appearing as what? Emotion.
Mhm.
Divine feminine. Divine masculine appearing as divine feminine. Or divine feminine appearing as divine masculine, when in all reality it's all one and the same, and that entity can be both, instead of trying to play roles and parts.
Well, I
You
think
know?
everybody thinks like as a one person, right? Like there's a one person, like there's a one devil, like
Right.
there's a, you know what I mean?
Right.
And so again, the belief that we were told, we really have to start to question and really start to break down and ask source to show us truth.
And the truth is that you really have to start asking yourself, why did the story of Genesis, which is the generations of Isis, a divine feminine queen, Egyptian queen, right? Genesis, generations of Isis. Why does the story begin with Adam and Eve being separated from each other? Because remember, Eve is created from the rib of Adam, so it means that they were one entity before. And if you look up the Enumi Elish, which is the seven tablets of creation, the story before how Adam and Eve got to the Garden of Eden. Go read that book, and it will tell you exactly how they got separated, and how the Garden of Eden was actually a breeding center. But that's for another life. Okay? But the advice that I got for Divine Feminine is Easter, and right under it it says
Ooh, I just heard resurrection.
exactly the growth. And you said resurrection, and what this full moon about? Death and rebirth in Scorpio.
And I also think it's that age of Aquarian, right? Because we talked about that Piscean era that was beforehand was very patriarchal, was very like dual, all about duality, all about
It's
emotions and
dying, and
program.
now it's being rebirthed into this
Exactly.
new one, where you said the shift in the beginning of the reading. The shift of everybody's healed, everybody's nervous system is calm, we're not getting into relationships for love, because for love anymore, because we love ourselves now. It's
Mhm.
more to build, it's more to create a better generation, it's more to create a better ancestry line, it's better to create better genetics, but because that's what it's all about.
Even like idolizing like celebrities, right? Like based on being a celebrity because they're just like who they are, right? But I feel like the new celebrity is going to be people of wisdom, people that you can tell,
They'll teach
right?
you something. You can actually learn,
Yes.
and it's not like you're just following whatever it is that they're doing, and it's bringing you to your fucking detriment.
Hmm.
Like,
Exactly.
you know,
Exactly.
um, Easter. So the advice for Easter, because we're gonna wrap up this reading. We are an hour and 9 minutes in. Easter, which we just actually, Easter just happened not too long ago.
Hmm.
So we're gonna go into what this is talking about. A B C D E F G. Okay, it's in alphabetical order.
Oh, I like that.
Easter. Growth. I am the movement toward becoming, expanding, enhancing the impulse deep within all beings to develop, evolve, press onward to fulfill all that they're possible to become. The Germanic goddess of fertility, agriculture, and spring, Easter, was celebrated with the ritual lighting of dawn fires as a protection for the crops. She symbolizes springtime, new growth, and rebirth, which is where Taurus energy, which is springtime, and rebirth. Once, when Goddess was late in coming, a little girl found a bird close to death from the cold and turned to Easter for help. Remember in the beginning of the reading where I said some of you are seeing the bird flying across from you with a higher perspective? So the bird, right? A rainbow bridge appeared on Easter and came, clothed in her red robe of warm, vibrant sunlight, which melted the snow, the coldness of not being able to adapt to that other gender role. Spring arrived, is thawing, right? Because the little bird, the higher perspective, was wounded, the lower perspective, beyond repair, Easter changed it into a snow hare, which is a bunny, who then brought rainbow eggs. Okay? Which the eggs represent the seven chakras, the seven colors, right?
Mhm.
As a sign of spring, Easter instructed the little girl to watch for the snow hare to come to the woods. So the meaning of the card is Easter comes into your life with her springtime message of personal growth because it's all personal. Like I said, it's not external. Don't look outside. Don't blame the other people. It's more about you. It is time to open to things in your life that facilitate growth, development, and evolution, even if it is uncomfortable. Is there a class or workshop you've been wondering? Therapy, spiritual journey? Do it now. Is there something new that you want to include into your life? Let it in now. Have you just gone through a period of stagnation and lethargy where nothing seemed to be happening? Let it go. Now is the time of growth. Easter says that the wholeness is nurtured when you embrace experiences in all aspects of yourself, risks and occasions that cause you to stretch and expand. The stretching promotes your growth.
Mm.
Stretch beyond what you're doing right now because it's clearly not fucking working, collective. Jesus. Do you have any advice for the collective?
I just feel like it's like that energy of like you can be all the things. Like I think that we get so stuck on labels and like roles and that kind of thing, that I think that just allowing yourself to like liberate yourself to actually realize that you like are worth so much, that like that you've been settling for, and to really step into like that bigness. And it's so funny, I was laughing in the card because it was like, if you want a workshop or community, and I was like thinking of my soul shifter revolution, and I was like,
Listen, it's
join
all
me.
there because it's
Because
all
I
different for
teach a lot of
everybody.
those workshops and things that we've touched on,
Yeah.
because I think, we're all, like I said at the beginning, like we're all on this journey, myself included. And I think like going through it and being able to give people the A to B, you know what I mean, is what I wish I had when I was going through it. And so if it's something that you're interested in, you can reach out to me, but definitely check out the Soul Shifter Revolution community. There's a lot of great workshops and things in there.
Most definitely. And we have a Celestial here talking about, oh shit, you're right about the Adam and Eve story, and that she would love to hear a live about it. So we might end up doing a live about that, the original story of Adam and Eve. And actually breaking it down. I'm gonna send you a copy of um the Gospel of Thomas.
It's like a
And
flashback of our podcast.
remember that? It is. It's like we're coming right back to it. It's like what the fuck?
No, I love it
It's like
though.
now they're ready, right?
Hmm.
So yeah, then we're gonna probably have to go back to that and probably turn into a reading. Who knows?
Is Lilith going to be mentioned during that?
Oh, you know it.
Okay.
You know it.
I just wanted to make sure.
Because that's divine femininity taking her power back.
Hmm.
Literally. What people don't know is that Lilith and Eve are the same person. It's just a different aspect of both. You have one who's vulnerable, who's just divine feminine being submissive, and then you have the other one who's being empowered within her own masculinity, which is I'm not
The
gonna stand
dark
for this because
feminine.
if you know the original story, the reason why Lilith left the garden was because she said she was not gonna get on her back while
Hmm.
she was getting rammed and she wanted to actually ride him and he said no.
Hmm.
And she's like, if we're made equally from the same damn dirt, why the can I not ride you?
Yeah.
So that's the original story. So this is why they don't put it in the church because it creates these type of conversations
Hmm.
where it's the power struggle of gender roles and it's been happening for millenniums.
Hmm.
Because the original story is that we were once one entity and you have to think about it. Adam didn't create Eve. Eve gave birth to Adam. And in the Gospel of Thomas, he turns around to Eve and says, "Thank you for being my mother." Ah,
I
so if
mean,
you really
when we
think
think
about it,
about that's why it's like when we see the feminine such a suppressed energy, it's like, what are you doing? What are you
yeah.
doing?
But
Because
it's a
it's
suppressed
so
energy because
powerful,
they knew what the
right?
fuck they were doing when
Yeah.
they switched over the stories and they knew what they were doing
Yeah.
because they know that women are the god of this planet. You're the only being that can have both genders. You've never had a man have a woman or a man.
Mhm. Yeah.
So, hello, the woman is bringing a spiritual entity into a physical realm. What does that tell you? The woman is God. And in the story of the gospel, not even the gospel, the ruler of
I have to go
of
into my TikTok now because I was literally watching a video the other day about how God has a wife and nobody talks about her.
Ashara,
And
yeah.
so it was like this whole video, and I'm like, I gotta
Yeah,
write some of these
Ashara,
like
and then she
points
comes down and
down.
she Ashara comes down and she has Sophia, and Sophia is the earth, and then Sophia goes and does some masculine ass shit, and it's like I don't need no man, and ends up having a baby, which ends up becoming Lucifer,
So I heard
which
that,
is ego.
which I heard that Mother Gaia actually had a baby with chaos.
Correct, and it's the chaos because she had it with nothing, which is the void.
So,
So
and
it was without a male counterpart.
and
She
if
said I
we
could do it
bring
by
it back
myself.
and if we bring it back to the time of Atlantis, right, when we all understood our superpowers, right,
Yeah,
I think that the golden age was when we all remembered our multidimensional self and we all were interconnected and
yeah.
understood that oneness, right? And as we moved into the dark age, it's because the ego, the choice, the I'm an individual and I'm more than
And I
you,
need to be separated.
and I can,
That's the story of
yes.
Lucifer getting kicked out of heaven.
And so
Him
I
him
think,
separating himself from source
yes, and I think that that's where we see the shift of, or like the demise of,
of divine feminine.
Atlantis too, of
Yeah.
that time period, and but yes, it comes back again to, again, the divine feminine being suppressed, and it's the only way that we can be in control. And now that we're all like coming back to life and remembering, you know what I mean, it's like it's the way that people are going to be able to take back our power and to create, to birth a whole new heaven on earth, like a whole new experience for ourselves.
Where everything is equal and everything is, listen, it's gonna happen. It's just taking years, and because like I said, it starts with you. It's not about the external. But was that your advice?
I guess I went off on a tangent. I'm sorry.
No, it's
I'm
fine.
sorry,
Do you
collective.
have any advice from them for from your deck or
Um, my advice is just to allow yourself to sit with yourself. especially when you're feeling triggered. Like, give yourself the time and space to actually sit with yourself and ask yourself, like, what you're actually feeling and thinking and going through so that you can transmute it and you can actually start to shift that energy.
Yes, I love that because stillness is divine feminine energy. Just saying.
Hmm. Exactly.
But right, we're just gonna keep it there. We'll definitely see you on the next transmission. Remember, she is the soul shifter. I am Hierophant Joey. We are your spiritual leaders, and we are here to teach you. Ask all the questions that you want. Inbox us. Look at all of our handles. If you want private readings, you know what to do. Okay, hit up us for our links. And another thing is that we're gonna be doing more things like this. So stay tuned. Hit the bell. Stay notified. Follow her. Follow me, and you'll always be hipped, okay? I love you, and I hope that you guys enjoyed the reading and the transmission. Any departing?
Oh, I just wanted to say I love them too. I wasn't sure you were going to give me a moment, so I was like just
Okay,
blank.
darling. All right. So we love you, and we'll see you next time. Bye. Oh my God, it doesn't want to end. It's like we
Keeps
don't want to
going and
go.
going.
We don't want to go. It doesn't really want to end. This is crazy. Thank you for this. Wow, I'm happy I clicked on. I'm happy you did too. I'm just trying to figure out why it won't end. This is so funny. Spirit,
Let me leave.
Eve, I hostage here. Oh my God, this is crazy, collective.
Uh, oh, good.